France and Australia, folks, and it's the French who put more misery on the Wallabies with their end-of-year tour finishing winless, 48 points to 33. Pretty high-scoring game. There were lots of wide balls with the wingers and outside backs getting a heap of tries. Deporteerre in the midfield, a couple. Ramos, Bielle-Biarrey, Jorgensen, plus a few of the forwards got him as well. But, yeah, pretty entertaining game. Relatively high penalty count, but only 2 cards in this game, which compared to one of the games earlier in the day, seems very low on the card count. I would say this one's a bit more kind of normal in that regard, but yeah, we'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Remember, France went into this one with a slight risk of dropping out of the top 6 teams in the world ahead of the World Cup draw, which would not have been good for them. But they would have needed to lose by 16 points or more for that to happen. And it never really looked like happening. They were able to kind of either keep it in the lead or at least tied up for pretty much the entire game. The Wallabies did have a ever so brief lead, but it didn't last for them. Perfect start, though, for the Australians. I mean, if you're going to go start to France, you are going to potentially get an away from home win. You want to try and quiet the crowd early. France conceded a penalty, and the Aussies looked better when they were playing quick. I felt they did get some quick ball. Ikitau had a powerful carry, Tupou, and then finally Matty Fassler was able to get the ball down from close range. Missed conversion from Edmed, who was mixed from the tee, but 5 points to 0 for the Australians, cracking first kind of opening stanza for them. And then the Aussies held out the first French attack, which I thought, again, seemed promising. Tupou won a penalty at the breakdown, but the French second attack, which was essentially just from kick return, nice bounce of the ball from a French perspective, and they get some width into their play. Bielle-Biarrey, line break out on the right wing, and then Deporteerre with the support line gets his first of 2. France go in front, 7 points to 5, and then Australia had multiple missed chances, which were kind of frustrating for a guy who wanted to see... I wanted to see the Aussies get ahead to see what the French would do in response, because Australia were big underdogs in this one, put it that way. They had an attacking line-out error, which was a let-off. Wilson had a line break, and then Frost knocked it on in the carry, which was unfortunate. Edmed missed a very kickable penalty, but finally on 28 minutes... they did get it done. Jake Gordon with a quick tap from a penalty again, looking to keep the play moving. And then Gus Bell, the big loose head, he's able to get past Ramos and I think go between Marchand and one of the other forwards for an Aussie try to get them, back in front. And it's a converted one this time from Edmed, so 12 points to 7. Again, given that we're kind of 20 odd minutes into the game, this is a happy place for the Aussies to be in a game where, as I said, they go into this as kind of massive underdogs. However, the French reply is very good. They don't look rattled. They still look very comfortable. Their forwards, when they got good go-forward ball, were able to open up so much space for the backs, and that's exactly what happens here. They get the overlap out left, which finishes with a Ramos try. Uncharacteristic misconversion from him, but 12 points apiece, and then the French go in front on half an hour. There's a quick-fire double. Again, they play out the back. Very nice hands from the French backline. I think this is maybe the slickest we've seen their backline looking for large periods of this game in the November period. Anyway, Bielle-Biarrey chips over for himself. I think it's one of the first times we've seen him really do that kick and regather thing, which he was so good at in the Six Nations in this November period, where he's actually got a try from it. So 19 points to 12. They did start conceding penalties, though, the French. They got a yellow card warning for it, and eventually Lucu would find his way to the bin. And during that yellow card period, the Aussies scored a maul try. Moore went close, and then Fassler went over. So 19 points apiece. Again, the Aussies have been very good this November and been competitive for much of the game, but kind of not all of the game. By halftime, the Aussies have got the possession. The territory's pretty even. Line breaks is 3 apiece. Defenders beaten's 15-7, though, to the Aussies. The penalty count's 8-4 against the French. So there's some promising stuff here for the Australians, but you still felt like the French team looked dangerous. Got more dangerous in the second half. Their scrum started getting on top. won themselves a penalty, which Ramos duly slotted to make it 22 points to 19. And then more territorial pressure put on the Wallabies when Suali'i got a penalty conceded for an aerial contest, which he didn't agree with, but he was told he needed to get up a bit higher, get his hands up there. But with that territory, the French, again, they get width on the ball. It's Penaud, it's Ramos, it's Bielle-Biarrey, Deporteerre, all these guys you want getting touches on the ball. Really quick, slick, wide passing. There's at least one cut-out pass in there. 27 points to 19. It is a 2-score lead for the French. And then it looked like, honestly, it's starting to look like the Aussies were cooked in this game when they had another attacking line-out which they lost, but suddenly, kind of with no momentum, I think it was Nasser got the strip in the tackle as the French were looking to punish Aussie turnover ball, and they got it wide to Jorgensen. Jorgensen is very, very fast, but he looked to be ever so slightly just being hunted down as he made a big break down the left wing, but he has the presence of mind to do the Bielle-Biarrey thing, put the grubber, and just chase without the ball in hand. He has the gas to chase the ball and dot it down for a hell of a try, which really shut down the French momentum, 27 points to 26. But yeah, the French were not done. The Aussies also had their own yellow card warning for too many penalties conceded at the breakdown, and they would lose a man to the bin when Marchand went over for a maul try. Hooper goes to the bin. That makes it 34-26. It's starting to look, I know it's only like another extra score, which just chalks off the Jorgensen score, but every score the French get feels like further back for the Wallabies guys. And then the crowd were really getting on the case of the ref as well. Like Potter at one point put in, there'd been a couple of hits which the crowd didn't like. Potter put one on Bielle-Biarrey, which they didn't like. But I mean, the Aussies were chasing the game. They really needed to score next, but after their own maul had gone close on counter-attack, this new guy, what's his name, Gorges? Goodness me, he looks promising. He gets a big line break and puts Bielle-Biarrey through for his second try. Puts the gas down 41 points to 26. That is definitely game over with, only 8 minutes to play. Deporteerre did score a length of the field hat trick, but spectators try. Unfortunately, when he got an intercept as the Wallabies were on attack, unfortunate for him to go all that way, only to have a try chalked off. But the Wallabies did get one from a tap play from Nasser to potentially have the final say, 41-33, but the French were not going to allow the Aussies to have the final say as they got a maul try for Lamothe at the death. So 48-33 is a very high-scoring game, very free-flowing. Like I said, we got a bunch of wingers on the board, a few close range runs as well to kind of mix it up. So it was a pretty entertaining game all round. Although it was close for large periods, it felt like the Wallabies needed to be in the lead by, 10 points with 15, 20 minutes to go. The fact that they were still kind of chasing or getting back to parity with that time, it did feel like the French were going to run away with it, because that's what's been happening to the Wallabies all November, unfortunately. So, but yeah, good win for the French. And they retained their spot as a top 6 side ahead of the World Cup draw. Line breaks is 7-5 to the French. Penalty counts 12-13, so a little on the high side for both sides, and a yellow card each as well. The French lineup was better. I think they only had one go awry, whereas the Wallabies are still at 81%, which has been a bit of a story of their Autumn Nation Series, November Series as well. Possession is with the Wallabies just, territory is with the French just, so I feel like this game had enough about it to be a pretty entertaining one. Flament, 7 carries. Alldritt, 7 carries. Marchand, 8 carries. A lot of grunt work done by the French forward, but Bielle-Biarrey, 10 carries. They really got that guy on the ball, which is pleasing to see. Ikitau had 15 for the Wallabies. He is still very, very hard-working. Angus Bell, 12 tackles. Jigou had 12 as well, so not a bad shift from the cameo from the French loose forward replacement. But yeah, that's another game in the bag for the November internationals. We'll see how Argentina and England go tomorrow, plus Scotland and Tonga. I haven't seen Italy and Chile yet, which was played at the same time. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts on the game. Joe Schmidt's final one in charge of the Wallabies. I think he's still technically the Wallabies coach until the end of the Super season, but it's not been the ideal finish for him after things seemed kind of promising in the Lions tour and that big win at Ellis Park and whatnot. But yeah, for the French, maybe finding some combinations ahead of the Six Nations next year. Still a lot of rugby to be played at club level between now and then. I'm rambling on. I'm going to go. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.